Okay, good afternoon, folks. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone's had a good weekend and ready for business. So, market has just opened. I was looking at this quickly. We had a second entry short here, but it's a little too close to the market open, so I left it alone. It would have worked actually, but there you go. I'd rather hold back just a little bit. So, Karina, good morning to you. Speedy, how you doing, pal? You're early today, mate. Let me just take. Okay, so let's see how we get on today. So not a bad week. I was up, I think, about $350 per account all last week. So it's growing anyway. Work today. I got you. So everything's going okay. Accounts are growing quite nicely. I'm guessing in about 4 weeks, I should start taking some payments, I think. It's just obviously since I blew those accounts, it just takes sort of a month and a half, couple of months, probably a couple of months just to get back up till I can start taking some regular payments again. But, every time something goes wrong, I ended up moving my stop and blew a bunch of accounts. That was probably a month and a half ago. But it happens. You've just got to kind of learn from it. But I have got something in place now which locks my stop. So when my stop goes into place now, I can't move it. So it does take away the chance of that happening. So I think it's more important about if you've got tools to use them. We all have moments of weakness, but if you can put something in place to stop that happening, hopefully to mitigate that, it shouldn't be so much of a problem. So no training for me Thursday. I've got my pre-op to have my gallbladder out. So I'll be in hospital for an hour or two in the afternoon, just getting a few tests, making sure everything's ready. So no trading Thursday. So we're just kind of ranging at the minute. We had that move up into this, so I do wonder whether we get another move up. But we broke above any liquidity up here and then pulled back. And we've done the same, so I'm not necessarily convinced we are going to push up. It's a bit hard to say at the moment, but it does just seem to be more just ranging, really. It did look like there may be a slight, if you look at the highs, slightly higher, but I don't think it's enough to think about moving up. So we've got a bit of a channel here with a break, small break, and a new extreme as of at the moment. Let me just have a look. See what everybody else is looking at. Yeah, that's Dan's chart at the moment. It's pretty much the same as I've got. Obviously, this was about here, so he hadn't got that breakout. But this is pretty much what he's looking at the moment. So I think we're all kind of just thinking range at the moment. Okay, there does look like two little legs up here. Trouble is, we've already had a break and a new low, so you've got to be a bit careful here. May trigger you and stop you out. But there could be a triple test, so I'm just not sure at the moment what's going on here. It's still a little bit too early. We could have 3 attempts to go high and it may come down, but I'm just not sure at the moment. Are we making slightly higher lows? It's hard to say. So channel down there with a small break and a new low. So that channel is played out. We seem to be pushing back up. I half thought this may come back down, but doesn't seem to want to do that. So whether we're testing the top or we're going to push up, it's hard to say really. So bearish bar there, that's interesting. I think really here it's only really a first entry. Now we can have a break, test of this and then push lower, but to be safe really you've got to wait for a lower high I think here, just in case. But we're still respecting this top line here. Now this may well come down, but as it's only a first entry and this is already played out, I think the safest option is to wait for a lower high just in case. Trouble is we are making higher lows. That's what concerns me. Are we slowly getting that? You know what I mean? We've kind of got a leg up and a bunch of sideways and then possibly another leg up. So if you'd have taken that bearish bar, you just got stopped out. So it's just too early to take that really. Now there may be a channel, it may be retesting this. It's hard to say really, but the safe option is to wait for the lower high because it's got a habit of doing that to you. They are. That's the bit you got to be careful. So am I thinking about going short at the moment? I think short still at the moment, a lower high I would have gone for. But it does this sometimes. We get flat across the top and it does this and all of a sudden it launches down. It kind of waits for you to do this. Price gets back down to here, triggers a few longs and then comes down. So we got kind of mixed feelings here a little bit at the moment. It's still ranging for me. We're still finding support up here, but sometimes, yeah, it does this. I mentioned this the other day, and then all of a sudden it'll come down. But so I think the safe option at the moment is just to sit and wait and see if it sort of see if it becomes a bit clear. So we're looking at pushing above there again, I think. So is there a channel? I think it's too early to do that. I think it's just, it doesn't quite feel right to me that it's just too early. I think it's just sideways at the moment. So channel with a break, 2 pushes to a new high. So same again, just gonna have to wait here. Yeah, sorry about right, it was my daughter's 17th. And then we had people coming around. There was some kids around as well, so there was a bit of noise going on. So I did trade on and off. I just didn't want to stream because there was people in and out the room. And it was my daughter's 17th, so I spent a bit of time with her in the morning. So let's see what happens here. See if this pushes down now. It's got a habit of doing this, and just to prove a point, I'm going to do that because I think it may all of a sudden look like it's bouncing here and it may come down, but I reckon it's going to come down below this. Now you possibly could even take that up there. It's hard to say really. Depends how you want to look at that. In fact, I'm going to leave it as it was. Because we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's a lot of touches there. Yeah, see, it's pushed down below that line. It has a habit of doing that, giving you that sort of impression we're pushing up, and all of a sudden it pushed straight through there. Will it drop below there? I'd say so, yeah. So I don't want to do that. So maybe we have a little break here. But I think it'll drop down below. So there we go. Will it get that far? Who knows? So yeah, that's what I mean. Sometimes it can give you that impression it's working up, and then all of a sudden, 1 minute you're thinking about a possible channel up, and then as soon as it does that, you're back to thinking range. In all fairness, it is just going sideways. I mean, if you block off that little section there, if I take that away there, this is purely just perfectly sideways. That was that little bit of early movement. I mean, there we've already had a break and a new high there, I think. So I'd say something like that, break new high. But this section here, since, well, the last sort of 5 hours, it's just perfectly sideways, really. Now, we have made a couple of little ticks higher, but sometimes it'll do that, just clear any possible liquidity before it moves down. So this, to me, just at the moment, is just ranging, really. Yeah, see, 1 minute, that's what I mean. That's a good point, actually. Just that was a point I was making. 1 minute you're thinking it looks like it's going up, and all of a sudden when it breaks below here, which it's done there, all of a sudden he took away that. And he's only just posted these. He took away the channel. So 1 minute it gives you that impression. So if you'd have been going long here or waiting for it to come back in and decided to buy there, it didn't work. So it is more just sideways, and that's kind of that's how I'm thinking anyway. It's more sideways rather than any type of a channel up. Rough Friday for Alpine. Hope he rebuilds. Yeah, he did, didn't he? He blew a bunch of accounts again. He's got a habit of doing that. It's the thing is, on Alpine, he wins something like 10 out of 11 green days, and when he has a red day, it's brutal. So he obviously can't use his stop, or he doesn't use a stop, but he can make money. But when he has a red day, it crucifies him. So he needs to kind of figure some way out is when he's having a red day. The thing is, when he has all those green days, you don't know how much he went in the red before he got green. You just assume it worked. But he doesn't trade. He won't let you see him trade now when he trades the initial open. So I don't know. I think he may get close to blowing accounts and then it turns back last minute. But, you know, he seems to be able to make money. He just needs to kind of find some sort of way of mitigating those red days. But I think he was down 80 odd thousand, wasn't he? I mean, that was it's the worst I've ever seen, that, actually. I mean, even with all that, he's obviously making money. But he'd make a damn sight more if he could kind of figure out a way of controlling that amount he loses. But it was the same with what's it did, didn't he, a couple of weeks ago? Nutty had the same problem, lost a bunch of accounts. And then kind of, you know, but they do seem to bounce back. But yeah, I mean, those guys have got a lot of viewers, so I'll tell you something, for now, they're making a stack of money on affiliates, so they can fund their accounts with what they're making affiliates. I would have said, in all honesty, I would expect them to make 10,000 at least per month on affiliates. That's a hell of a lot of evaluations and PAs paid for, isn't it? So, you know, that's why they can kind of afford to have them big losses and then all of a sudden turn up a couple of days later with 20 more accounts. But yeah, I mean, 80 odd thousand won it. I think I'd have been physically sick. I think I'd have had to stay away from razor blades and bridges, I think. So there is kind of a little channel up there with a break and a new high on that chart there. So that may not have been a bad, but it's close to that EMA. So it may just come back to that EMA and possibly have another leg. But every time we've come back up to the top, we've actually moved slightly higher. So that's what concerns me about a short there, that we get a leg up with a break and a push up and we break up these new highs. And a lot of times it'll come back to the EMA and bounce. But if you look at where that bar's finished there, there's just no room to the EMA. You don't know that it's going to come down, but you know what, there's half a point if you're lucky. So you just don't know. We've got a leg up there with a break. We have got a new high, but you don't know whether we're going to make a second leg and break these highs. The last 3 times we've been up here, we've gone higher and higher, so that's why I left that. But if you look at this now, if I take that over now, it's just perfectly sideward, perfect range. It's a bit irrelevant this now. That was 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago. So Thomas Wade's just lost a trade. I'm just trying to figure out where. Making a trade somewhere. He's put, I will personally risk a second entry long. He's taken a second. He's taken that trade there. The trouble is, if you look what he's done, he's put this back. So as it's pushed up there, he's taken a second entry long, and he said it got him. That's what I mean about 1 minute it looks like it's going up, next minute it looks sideways. So you've got to be careful. I don't trust channels unless they're, I mean, for me, that channel, now, it just doesn't look right to me. If you look, we're flattening it off on the top. So I don't trust channels like that. It just doesn't look right. Now, he took a trade there. So if you move that left, as I've just done, if you move that left, what does that look like? An absolute perfect range. There's no hint of a larger channel there in the slightest. But this bottom here was about 8 o'clock UK time, which was nearly 7 hours ago. So we push up and then we just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. So he's looked into that. See, I notice Thomas Wade does that. Thomas Wade looks for bigger channels quicker. Dan does the complete opposite, and that's what I'm trying to emanate. Keep channels tighter, and I think it keeps you a little bit safer. So that's kind of why he's lost that, but that won't bother him so much. He can. We got 2 legs down there, so are we bottoming here? Is it safe to go long there? Not really, because where are we bottoming? Are we bottoming there? Are we bottoming there? There? It's hard to say, and that is a little bit floating above everywhere, isn't it? So I don't really think I would go long there. It's irrelevant that it worked. So it is definitely ranging, but I wouldn't know exactly where I would consider a bottom at the moment. I suppose that would probably be close. It's hard to say. I do think I'm in a pretty comfortable place now with my trade choice. I'm quite strict with it, and I feel quite comfortable where I am. I'm not taking a huge amount of trades, but I am winning most of them. I think I've won the last 8 trades in a row. I haven't taken a huge amount, but trouble is, I could have won 8 trades and lost 3 or 4 of them, which would have put me in a worse position. So where I am in my discipline and trade choice feels comfortable at the moment, and I just hope I can stay in that position. It's hard to, what I've found, it's hard to get into that zone where you wait for good quality trades and stay there. I've done it before, and I've slipped out of it for some reason, taken a couple of losses, and then you tend to go into a frustrating place, but where I am at the moment is hopefully where I'd like to continue, because the trade choice I'm taking at the moment seems to be, you know, standing me well. But like I say, I've said before, trading to me is like being it's kind of almost like a performance activity, you know, like sports performance. You know, some of these, you know, high class sportsmen can't always stay in the zone. They tend to slip, and that's what it feels like to me. It's very hard to kind of stay there, but at the moment, I'm in a good place. So we've had a little break out the top here, so I'd like to see a leg and a leg down here. Maybe find a long. The trouble is, the more times we bounce off this top, the more chance I think we've got of testing this area, or even possibly down here. So you've got to be careful going long here. It's okay going short at the top, long at the bottom, but at some point we're going to get a breakout. At some point it may come down. I doubt very much it's going to continue to do this for the rest of the day. Wow, look at that. All of a sudden we had a 23 tick bar which pushed up in a second. $15-minute orb traders looking for a break. Did you see that? That moved so quick there. I mean, literally, it went from here, boom, straight up. 23 ticks in a split second. It makes me nervous that when it does that. So the only reason I think really that did that was quite possibly because there was a lot of buyers. So if there's buyers buying at this area here, is this going to get down here? I've watched quite a bit about that open range breakout. There's a British guy, I forget his name now, who does it. And I think that's how Alpine trades, isn't it? For the life of me, I don't know why he won't show you him trading it. He trades it before he comes on the stream. I don't quite know why. No, I'm not really. What I tell you why. One, I found it quite complicated, and I tend to do this now and again. Feel like I need to look elsewhere, and I always tend to come back to Pat's. I've done it 2 or 3 times over the last 2 years with Penguin, although Penguin is very similar, but I think, to be honest with you, I just need to get better at what I'm already doing. I do think that this is a really good strategy, but like most strategies, it takes time to be able to do it effectively. And I think whenever things go a bit tough, I start to look elsewhere and maybe think, well, maybe I should try this, maybe I should try that. And I always seem to come back to the same thing. So I've really just decided to just focus on doing this and doing it better, I think. I've spent 4 years, over 4 years doing this now, so I've done it long enough to know how effective it is. So I think I'm in the right place. So I'm just trying to... but yeah, trouble is, once you start looking, that takes a lot of time to put into looking at. It's complicated setting it all up. And I think I'll be dedicating too much time to it, and then it's like being a, you know, you've heard the saying, jack of all trades, master of none. So I think really it's a better idea getting good at just one rather than having 2 or 3. Don't get me wrong, I will take the odds Penguin setup if I see one, because it is very similar to Max. So if I look on this side now, it does look kind of like a triple test. 3 attempts to go higher. Trouble is, we didn't get up here, and that's what makes me a bit nervous. So the bar didn't finish fantastic, and I'm quite kind of glad, because we've had 1, 2, 3 attempts to push higher there. But the trouble is, we're a bit short off the tops. So I think trading there is probably, as they say, don't diddle in the middle. It's enough in the middle of that lot to kind of be a bit wary. I think really if I was going to take a short, it's going to have to be up here somewhere, quite possibly breaking the previous high. So there was a bit of a failure there, but the trouble is, you go long there, really, it's right in the middle of that lot. So Thomas Wade took it. It's worked, but I think it's just a bit too dangerous personally. Trouble is, where you're in there, it's right in the middle of that range there. So it could catch you out that. I'd have guessed Dan wouldn't have taken that. It's too in the middle. I could be wrong, but I don't think he did. He took a second entry short somewhere, I'm guessing. When was it? 47. Took a second entry short somewhere here. Unless it was there. Yeah, he took a short there. I wasn't too sure about that. The signal bar's not fantastic there, and we could go up a touch higher. It depends on you, really. The left side is not very good. That side isn't brilliant, in all honesty. And every time we've come up to the top, with the exception of this, we've broke higher and higher. So, yeah, it wasn't a fantastic. In fact, really, it's not even really a second entry short. It's a first entry, second entry. It's more of a third entry, really, because we're progressively getting higher. So it's more of a third entry. But it's just not quite good enough for me. If it had broken about... The trouble is, as long as we've got liquidity up here, when we're so close, you never quite know whether it'll trigger you and push up. That's the unfortunate thing. So now, and not only that, you could move this up here, really, so it will be a bit short there. At the moment, though, I'm quite happy with leaving it where it is. Trouble is, every time we bounce at the top and bounce at the bottom, you never know, is that the time where we're going to have a break? He took the one that stopped out, Thomas Wade. Yeah, the one that Thomas Wade took was that one there. the higher low there, because he drew this as a channel, and it's not really. So if he got in a tick above there, yeah, I mean, depending on where he got in, he only went a point. He usually goes for, what's the ATR at the moment? So he'd have gone for 2 points minimum there. So Dan took the next bar short, that one there. Yeah. So Dan's looking at it as a range, which in my opinion it is. Thomas Wade, unfortunately. That's the thing with Thomas. That's kind of the way he trades. He opens his channels up quite quick. See this channel here with the break? Thomas Wade would have lightly had that as one big channel. But Dan keeps it tight, and I think that's the best way to do it. It breaks that picture down. You can see a little bit more detail. So if I look at Tom, I don't know whether he'll put that there. Yeah, he has done. Yes, if you look at Thomas Wade there, you see that channel I've got with a break? He's got that in one big channel, whereas I don't think it is. So that's just kind of how he trades. But that's the difference really between him and Dan. But if you look at this, if you keep it tight to those three, we have gone a little bit sideways and a new high there. So that's, Dan would do that type of thing. I don't know whether he has done. But he does keep things tight. He hasn't actually marked it. It's actually marked it. I think it's just earlier on, which is probably why. So channel with a break and a new low. So would you go long here? It's a tough one. I don't think it's a bad option. It's a little bit of an overshoot.
Order submitted.
Okay, I've took that one. Channel break, new low. I don't think that's a bad trade. It's not a huge risk. Should hopefully get here. It's just not pushing up very strongly for me. That's what concerns me. But we have broken below there, so it's just something about this I'm not a massive fan of. Let's just leave it. Something about it I'm just not a fan of. Or do I just leave it? It's already backtracking.
Order filled.
It hasn't even got to that EMA and it's already pulling back. So it's just making me a bit nervous, that. So I've got out of that anyway. So I thought that would have pushed up quite strong. My concern is this. Maybe I've misjudged this. We've got a break now in a new low. I had that as a bit of an overshoot, but I'm not convinced it is. Now, it didn't get very far before it started pulling back. That's why I decided to get out of it. So I'm not convinced. Let's see if it does push up. I've got something out of it anyway. Yeah, I'm just getting a bit nervous here, so I decided to get out of that. Looks like it's going to work now, but I still think you're best off to just leave a trade. Currently with Apex and Traderify. Yeah, we got 2 dojis now. It looks like it's going to work. I don't know whether this is a break and this is going to push down. That's what concerns me, so I just decided to get out of it. And all of a sudden now, look at this. So it looked to me like a small break and a new low, which is why I got into it. But we only got to here and it started pulling back already. Now, if there'd have been a lot of buyers there, that would have pushed up relatively quick. If you look here, it pushed up. It didn't pull back at all. Same with there, really. We pulled back first, but when we got on the trade, it pushed up. So the last couple of times we've bounced off that bottom. Same with this one. It went up pretty quick and then straight up. Same there, same there. Here, it's already starting to pull back, which is a bit early for me. And now all of a sudden we got 2 dojis and it's going sideways. So it was a safer option to get out of that for me. Now, it'll probably work, or it may work, but it's just one of them things, so. I still think, really, I just need to get into a trade and just leave it. It would have to touch there, which I think it's probably going to. The last couple of trades I have got out did go on to work, so I still think I'm best off. So it worked. I still think I'm best off just leaving it, but I think I misjudged that. I didn't know whether it was all in one channel, and all of a sudden we're pulling back a bit early for me, so. So let's just put that there. I would have said 8 out of 10 trades I get in go on to make the full amount. So perhaps I should have just left it, but Declan Charlotte, how you doing, Kenny? Yeah. You know, it's a tough one. Is it a good trade? Put it this way, whenever we get a strong bullish bar down here, every single one of them worked. But the difference is with this one, there we had a channel down with a break. We didn't have a clear enough break for me. Now, if I'd follow these, excuse me, these top 3 bars, you may argue we haven't had a break. So we pulled back a bit there, and that made me a bit nervous. Now, all of a sudden there we went sideways. You can see that, 2 dojis. So there's a little bit of uncertainty there. So, you know, I can kind of understand why I had second thoughts there. But, you know, if you, I think, in fact, I'm pretty sure if I'd have just left every trade I took for my full amount, I'd be better off financially. I know I would, but the trouble is when I'm seeing something and I get into a trade and all of a sudden I've gone, I think I've misjudged this. Are you better off to get out of it? It's hard to say. It just didn't push up very strongly, and that's what sort of concerns me. But there you go. I'm in it. I'm out of it. I've made a few ticks because I'm trading 2 contracts on my Apex ones, so I've made $75 each on those. And $30 odd on my Traderify accounts, but well. Penguin style trade. I should move to the tick. Yeah. Apex and Traderify, yeah. I'm going for 2 contracts on my Apex because there's a little bit more drawdown, and 1 contract on my Traderify. Now, to get to a payment on Traderify, I've got to get to $3,000 in which I could take 2. So I figure if I go for a little bit more with Apex, I'd have to get to 4,100 to take 2. So that's my plan, just to get a bit more money in the bank, because I haven't had a payment since June I haven't had a payment July or August. Everything went great for me. January, February, March, April, May and June. I had 6 months payment in a row. I had my accounts to 3,000 and a little bit over. And then whatever I made on top, I withdrew. So once you get so much in there, I was taking regular payments. Everything was feeling great. And then I just had a little bit of a wobble. Something got to me a little bit. I took a couple of losses. And I just, on one trade, I ended up moving my stop. It just happened in a second. I just panicked and moved it. Price came towards me, so I ended up being about 400 or 500 in the red. And then you either get out or you panic. And I panicked and moved it again. And it came against me until I ended up blowing them. So it kind of felt like I was overdue for it. I felt like I was living on borrowed time, if you know what I mean. But then you've just got to pick yourself up and get over it. So, you know, I've got these accounts now and I'm building these up. So when I get to payment level, hopefully then I can start getting some regular monthly payments again. But it happens. But I've put something in place now to stop it happening. I've got my stop locked. So my stop, I have my stop set to 6 points. So I've got plenty of space to bring my stop into place, and I can only move it towards price into profit. I can't move it away, so that will stop that from happening again. Little Hammer, how you doing, matey? So, you know, there's tools out there to stop you doing these things, so you've got to take advantage of them. So I've got mine bought and paid for, my Guardian Angel Trader, so I've got to take advantage of it. So, where are we going? Are we lightly pushing up? If I look here, trouble is you could say we've had a channel and a break already, and I think that is probably the best option to mark that. It looks like 2 little legs up. I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm in a good place at the moment. Do you know what I found is when I used to come to the chart, or I was getting close to the chart, I'd have this little tingling, buzzing, excited type feeling. And I put that down to that kind of gambling effect where, you know, if you're betting on something, you get that. And I didn't think it was good to have that. Now, I tend to just come like I'm coming to work. I don't have that feeling anymore. I just feel like it's a kind of a boring, mundane job. Not that I find trading boring, but I don't get that excited feeling anymore, which I think's a good thing. And I think the more you just come and do it every day, sooner or later that goes. But I did used to feel like, it did used to feel like I was getting ready to have a bet. You know what I mean? Not that I've ever gambled, it's never interested me, but that kind of excited, tingling, itching to get into a trade isn't a good idea, really. But I don't get that anymore. I just feel like it's just a boring job now, a normal job, shall I say. It doesn't bore me. I kind of like the challenge now of getting one over on the market, of finding something that I can pick up without getting sort of kicked, sort of thing, you know what I mean? Buzzing is dangerous, yeah, it is. And what I found sometimes, as soon as I got to the charts, in some cases I'd see it going up and I'd just jump in without any real plan. And it after a while, you get to a point where you just give up doing stupid things because it doesn't work. You'll get away with it once or twice, but it doesn't work. God, it's hammering it down there. It don't work. You know, the risk taking, all this stupid stuff. It never works. It's never going to. You know, once or twice you'll get away with it, but you never ever make money out of it. It just won't happen. But it's so hard to not do it, you know. But then eventually you just give up. It's like anything. Sooner or later, when something doesn't work, you'll just give up. Hopefully it doesn't take you as long as it took me, because I think I had enough skills to make money. I just didn't have that temperament. I just kept taking risks, thinking, I think for me what it was is I didn't think I had enough skills to grow the account. So when I got a new account, I had to take a risk and try and give it a quick boost. In other words, get $600 or $800 in the account and take a risk, go for more contracts, and that will give me a bit of a boost. Partly I didn't think I had the skill to do it, and it was just lack of patience. It does take longer to build accounts when you do it properly, but the only other option is to spend a year or two taking risks and blowing accounts, and you end up worse off in the long run. You're better off taking time and letting them grow organically. But yeah, it's going to take a few months to get accounts up to payments, and you might not feel like you want to wait and you take a risk, but all you're going to do is prolong the amount of time it takes till you start getting regular payments. Exactly. I think, no, I don't want to wait three months. I want to do it in 3 weeks. But the trouble is, you look back and you think, I've spent a year doing that. Just think what my accounts would have been. In fact, I probably spent nearly 2 years doing that. And that thing comes to mind. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. In other words, you can make a significant amount of money, but you can't do it overnight. Because if you try and do it overnight, all you're going to do is blow up. You guys know I've done over 1,000 evaluations because my answer was, I'm going to take a risk, I'm going to take a risk. Partly because evaluations are so cheap, and that's where you kind of get sucked in. If it doesn't, it's not a lot to lose, is it? So let's take a risk. The trouble is, you get into a habit then where you just continue to do it. Because they're so cheap, you just pick half a dozen up and I'll just see if I can take a risk. I've got 5 accounts and blown them all in the space of 5 minutes. I've done really stupid things like that, but I'm living proof to hear and tell you it doesn't work. It never works consistently. It'll happen once in a while. I've had days where I've done stupid things and got 5 accounts up, but the trouble is it gets in your head then that you can do it, and you end up, you know what I mean? Looks like 2 legs down there. There is a bullish bar here. Is that a bad trade? I don't think it's a terrible one. The trouble is, are we starting to slip a bit now? Is there a channel down there? There may be. Possibly. I'm a bit unsure here, so I'm not doing anything. And rightly so, yeah, something's not right there, so I'm staying away from here. It hasn't triggered anyway, fortunately. But yeah, it's such a kind of a rocky journey learning to be a trader. Now, I dare say I've been trading now for a little over 4.5 years. I'd say there's a lot of traders that can shave a year or 2 off that if they stop taking silly risks. I feel like I'm there now. I can, I've got enough discipline, I've got enough patience, and I can win more trades than I lose. So I feel like I'm there. But it's took me a long time to realise that if I just take my time and let it grow organically, it'll eventually get there. So we got perfect measured leg down there. Well, a couple of ticks off, and we've bounced off that midline there, but I'm still not ready to go long here at the moment. But there is a massive failure rate in trading. But the simple answer is, I think it's because, in fact, I'm convinced it's not that you're not capable. It's just we know how difficult it is and how much time it takes. And you can imagine not everyone can put up with that. Not everyone has got the time to dedicate to it, the money, and not everyone can get punched in the face 1,000 times and keep coming back. And that's what it feels like. You know, you can understand a lot of people will give this a go for a few months and think, sod that, I can't do it, it's too hard, which is why there's a high failure rate. It's not because people are not capable, because it looks so easy. But when you actually finally get into it, and it's weird, it comes on in stages. You know, I've had times where I think I've cracked it, and then all of a sudden you feel like you're back at it all again. And then it does develop, but very, very slowly, kind of baby steps. And then eventually things just start to work, but it does take time to get there. And that's where so many people give up. They just can't do it. They can't put up with it because it is so painful and costly and frustrating, and not everyone, you know, wants to go down that road. So we've got 2 legs down, but it's people that burn out the emotional. Yeah, and Christ, isn't it half an emotional roller coaster? You know, I'll be honest with you. I've been with my wife now for about 32 years. And until she's seen me with tears in my eyes twice. One when my daughter was born, not long after my daughter was born, and when my mum passed away a few years ago. But twice I've been in tears through trading. I mean, you know, really feel like I've broken down. Just, you know, but luckily I'm one of the type of people that I can bounce back pretty quick. It's just fortunate. It's just the way I am, I think. So you can understand why people, you know, they have a couple of blowouts and they think, I can't do this. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not for everybody. But yeah, I've had times where I felt miserable. I've had times where I felt depressed. And my wife said to me, she used to dread me coming downstairs just because I was miserable. And it's affected your mood. It affects your sleep. It takes over so much of your life learning to trade, because just that emotion that kind of gets, you know, takes over your life. It almost feels like it. Keeps those. Yes, it does. Guard Angel Trader is a fantastic tool. It really is. You've got to take full advantage of it. But I've got it now. If you look at my ATM strategy, it says new locked stop. So my stop comes in at 6 points. And the reason I have it there, just so I've got plenty of room to put it into place. But even if I left it at 6 points, trading one contract, that would lose me $300. And I can only do that twice. So if I absolutely got ridiculously stupid, the most I would lose in a day would be $600. So what is going on here? Are we moving up or are we coming down? There is looking like a failure here, but I'm just not sure about this. Trouble is I'm taking the failure into that EMA, so at the moment I'm just sitting tight here because we've got a channel down here. Now we have had a breakout, but the trouble is we're slipping. The top is slipping down, so it could come back to the EMA and drop lower. Just sort of not convinced at the moment. Sam, how you doing, buddy? So that to me looks like a channel, so we could get a second entry short here. Would I want to take a short there? Not necessarily, because we've been ranging. It may trap a few shorts and push up. So I wouldn't take a short there just for that reason. Excuse me just a second, I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. So yeah, it's definitely a choppy start to the day, isn't it? Look, see how it's doing today. Trading today. No, is he? No, it is not trading. Oh, neither of them are. Okay, channel break, new high. Okay, broken the highs. So far, it's taken any possible liquidity out of the way there. It's definitely a messy start to the day. A lower high here would be interesting. It's already come back to that EMA, isn't it, unfortunately? Yeah, it's definitely a messy start, isn't it? It's just chopping it up and down. I mean, there are a few trades here, I suppose, certainly. I think that one, I think Dan took that one. Channel break, new high. Trouble is, it just concerned me there that it comes back to the EMA and pushes higher. Now I go for 3 points, Dan goes for 6 ticks, so you don't know it's going to do that. That's the trouble, but there's enough for him to go 6 ticks, sorry, I think. Back to that AMA before it pushes up. That's the trouble. Trouble is, if you look at the top, it's a bit inconsistent wherever, you know, we're up here. We're more or less same sort of height, then we're a bit lower. So Same with the bottoms as well. It's not that easy to trade these when we're making a different level every time we sort of get up or down. So looking at bookmap, we have got orders around 210. Up around here, so it may continue just to range. Oh. So bookmap orders up here which have been picked up. Now there are still a few more up here, so let's see if this thing pulls down now. Now if you look here, we did break quite a bit lower than this, so often when you get a break at the bottom you get one out the top. So if we can get a lower high here back into this range, I may have a go at that. But as I say, 212, there's orders around here, so it doesn't want to go much higher, otherwise we may actually get a move out. Start my channel from the bottom instead from the higher low. You started from here, did you? Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I like to try and keep mine tight. I'm assuming that's what you're on about. Yeah, I like to keep mine tight, so we've had something like that. I mean, you could sort of argue that type of thing with a break in a new high. I tend to keep it tight. see, at the moment, really, I'm just thinking range, so short in the tops. Now, that's if it holds up, unless it holds up here. It's a bit hard to say, really. It doesn't seem to be enough sellers there pushing that back down just at the moment. So, if you look on Bookmap, there does seem to be orders popping up here. So this thing may go a bit higher. I mean, it's okay having orders up there, but if you haven't got the buyers, the aggressive buyers pushing it up, so it's just a bit hard to say what it's going to do. I wouldn't be shocked if it did continue up a while. Excuse me just a second. Sorry about that. Daughter's been ordering Starbucks. So, judging by what I'm seeing on Bookmap, I think this has got more chance of getting up. Certainly to this area. It's hard to say. We could have a break though. 2 pushes to a new high. So, but it does look like it's being kind of dragged up. Yeah, this is going a bit higher. This is, I think. It's quite strong orders up to 15. It may go a bit higher than that, but that is where I would suggest. So I think we're looking at a couple of legs here. So depends on where you draw that. I'd certainly say there's a good chance we'll get up to this 515 area. It's hard to say. So we've got a channel with a break, 2 pushes to a new high. If it gets any higher than this, I'd expect it to get to this area here. It may come back in. It's hard to say. We could have a channel with a break, 2 pushes to a new high. Yeah, it's a bit hard to say at the moment. See, when we move up into it, often we do have the kind of opposite move out the top. But at the moment, depending on how you got that, you may have that something like that. It's hard to say, in which case we've got a break. We've still, just at the moment, got 2 pushes to a new high. So if it comes back now, then that's fine. If it gets any higher, certainly higher than this bar there, then I'd expect it to get up to that area. But I mean, 212.15, we got a chunk of orders up there. There's 500 odd orders there at 12.50, which is 2 ticks up. So it'd be interesting to see. But if we get above this, I'd expect it to push up to this level. I still think it'll get to 15 now. Just depends whether it'll absorb those orders. They're getting more and more of them, so are these buy orders? They're so close at the moment. They look like it. Or are they sell orders? It's hard to tell. I think they're sell orders. They're creeping up there. So it's okay having those sell orders, but if you haven't got enough buyers to push them up to there. So for me, once we've had those 2 pushes, once we've got above there, my gut feeling is we get to 15. So I expect that now. We've got sell orders just up here, so you never quite know, but sometimes you think it's when it hits those sell orders, it's naturally going to push it down, but often it absorbs them and pushes higher. Nick, how you doing, bud? Do you know what it is, mate? I just try and look at it and just see if it gets to certain areas. I still don't fully understand it. See, at the moment, I'm seeing these big orders up here. So there's 590 odd orders, 300 orders up here. Now, they're passive orders. So does that mean when they hit that area, price is going to sell off back into the range? It doesn't always happen. And that's one thing I don't quite understand how it works. Now, obviously, passive orders are one thing, but then you've got aggressive orders. So, you know, obviously, if you've got big sell orders here and it hits those, if you've got big aggressive buyers, it could absorb that and continue higher. So I just kind of, I think it gives me a better understanding of where price is likely to go. You know, we know price moves towards liquidity, but obviously you've got to take into consideration, we don't know who's going to buy aggressively or who's going to sell aggressively. So, you know, I don't kind of fully understand how it helps me to a degree, but I think looking at it maybe helps me. You know, if I can see what I can see on the chart, and when it gets to these areas, price does certain things, it may help me understand it a bit. But I see a lot of people telling you how to use it, what all this means. Now, obviously, I know the green balls, aggressive buyers, red balls, aggressive sellers. You know, the darker the order, the more sellers. The dark, you know, up here, the darker the orders down here, the more red, the more buyers. Up here, you know, aggressive buyers and sellers, and you got delta down here. But people tend to tell you how to read it, but they don't tell you how it necessarily makes trading easier. So I don't kind of fully understand it, really. But, you know, with looking at price as well, because obviously I understand a lot more about how price works, and if I can kind of marry the two up, maybe it might help me. I think I use this more for when to stay out of a trade. If I'm going for a short here, for instance, thinking it's going to come back in, and I see big sellers up here, that might indicate me it more likely going to trigger me and push up. So I kind of use it more when to stay out of a trade rather than when I'm in a trade. When I'm in a trade, I just do what I do. But if I'm thinking short and I see a lot of sell orders slightly higher than me, it may be an indication that I maybe get myself into a spot of bother. But yeah, I watched lots of videos about it, and people tend to tell you how to read it, but not tell you how to use it. You know, when you're trading. So anyway, at the moment, we've had a channel with a break. There's still just 2 pushes. It looks like 2 little measured move. Is it going to continue up? I think it'll get up to 15 anyway. That's why I put that line there, because of these big orders there. What happens when we get there? That's a different story. But expecting it to get to these areas will keep me out of a short trade, because as we know, when it's trading like this, a lot of the times when we get a breakout, they'll fail. Now, we had a small breakout here which failed, but I don't think it's enough of a breakout. I mean, I could drag this up a bit, but this is clearly a breakout, and we've had 2 pushes, so what do I expect? It's hard to say. We could pull down or we could push up, but I'm not so sure. There is a lower high here, but with those orders up there, I would be inclined not to take this this lower high. Now, it may well fail and come back in, but we've been out, back in, and now we're out again. So I would be inclined to not take a short here and just leave it. Yeah, this is, it's a little bit congested here, so I'm just sitting tight, doing nothing at the moment. I'm not sure whether we are slowly moving up now. I mean, there's always a possibility we have kind of like a measured move. We've got a leg up there and then maybe something like that, or a leg sideways and a leg. It's hard to know, really. Or I don't know whether this is going to fail and pull back in. But the fact is, looking on this side, I've got this slightly different. That is a clear breakout, which failed, but it didn't even get back to that EMA before it pushed again. So I'm not convinced this is going to come back into this range as of yet. But, you know, it does seem to be struggling to get anywhere, and it's clearly a little bit sideways there, so it may not have the legs to get much higher. It's hard to say. Something like that, maybe a 2-tiered channel, in which case we may have a break and it may push up for the highs. It's hard to say at the moment, but while it's not clear, I'm just doing nothing. Today's high. So we had those big moves, didn't we, in a pullback, couple of legs up, little. So we seem to be pushing up sideways, pushing up sideways, pushing up. We did that. We pushed up sideways, dropped below it, and then pushed higher. Same again, sideways, dropped below it and pushed up. Sideways, dropped below it and pushed up. So I wouldn't be surprised, you know, if we get kind of up here somewhere. I wouldn't be shocked. It does kind of, it kind of looks like that, doesn't it? Push up, sideways, drop, push up, sideways, drop, push up, sideways, drop. So, I mean, that's just, whether it will or not is a different story. But, you know, going for a small move, something like this doesn't really help us as such. But it's definitely an odd start to the day. We haven't really done much at all, have we? We got no news coming out that I'm aware of. So the next big chunk of orders are at 15, so I think that's where that is. Yeah, it is. So I'd expect it to hit that level there. Now, what it does when it gets there, that's another matter. Okay, so we're a tick off those orders. I'd expect it to hit it. Okay, so we're at that 15 level I expected, so that's absorbed some. So let's see what happens. Have we got enough buyers to keep price up here? So that's 19. That takes us up to 19. Yeah, there is still orders up here, so I'd probably expect a small pullback here, but I think that it's likely to go higher. We're definitely really from the after that big move. Was that Friday? Was it? We had that big move Friday. It does kind of visually look like a larger channel, so I'd probably expect that to continue on up for a chunk of the day. But I would expect a small pullback here anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to take, while it's figuring out what it wants to do here. Sorry, I was going to take a quick break. I may just sit tight a minute. Submitted a payout with Apex. Good for you, mate. Good on you. I submitted a payout with Apex. And see now that I broke the 30% negative drawdown rule. If I'm denied the requests, when does the new day start? Sorry, mate. I thought you got a payment there. So forget the good on you. That's a good question. I've thought about that myself. Someone else might be able to answer that. If you put an order in, let's say I put an order in today and I'm denied in 2 days, when does the trade, does it start from the day after? I'll tell you what, mate, I'm pretty sure the submitted date, yeah, I'm pretty sure you won't be able to apply for a payment until you've completed 8 days. So, you know, when you go in for a payment, the little box, when you click it, it won't appear. It won't allow you to take a trade until you've completed 8 days anyway. So, don't worry about doing it early. It won't let you do it early. You'll have to complete 8 days. But when you trade again, yeah. So that sounds about right. But you know, if for some reason it's 7 days, it won't let you apply anyway. So don't worry about applying too early and them saying, oh, you've only done 7 days. You can't physically apply until you've done 8 days. So yeah, don't worry about that. You'll be safe. But yeah, don't worry about it. Don't let that put you off, and don't do something silly. That means you've got enough money in your account to get up to payment. So just take it nice and simple. 5 days, a minimum of $50. The remaining 3, you can go for 1 tick on 1 micro. So, you know, you've got plenty of options there. I've done it myself. So just take your time, wait for good setups, and you'll get your payment then. So, yeah, don't give them the satisfaction of don't give them the satisfaction of you blowing your account. Take your time, make sure you get your payment button, you'll be right. The beauty is you're already there. You've already got the money there. All you've got to do is go through the process. So, yeah, just take it nice and steady. Don't rush it. I'm telling you that, not because I know better, because I've done it myself. I've taken silly risks and blown. There's nothing worse than blowing an account that you've already got enough money there for a payment. So you'll be fine, mate. You'll be fine. So, do we get a second entry long gear? We possibly could do. There's no reason now after this and a touch and this and a pullback. There's no reason why we've now come back into this channel, so I think there's a good chance this continues up. But I would prefer this bar to come down below here. That for me is a weak position, and we've got a leg down, so I'm not going to take a long here because there's something that it just concerns me. I would prefer a little break here. I wouldn't want to be in that trade. Now, I think about that sometimes. I think if I'm in that trade now, I would expect to get stopped out because it's too far from that EMA. So leg down, sideways leg down. So I'm not going to take a trade here unless it's broken below there. Now, it might not, and it might shoot up anyway. But for me, that bar is vulnerable. So I wouldn't want to take a trade while there's still liquidity there. Bar's naff anyway. It's a doji, so there's nothing I can do there anyway. And there is orders around the 11-12 mark, so there is buy orders down here. Sometimes it might not make a difference. There's enough aggressive buys to push that up, it'll go up. But for me, bit of congestion there. So nothing you can do at the moment. So Max charts up. So how different is it than mine? I think it's more or less the same. It's gone down a bit lower. I don't think it really matters anyway. So that is more or less the same. In fact, what I might do, let's just drag this up, I think. So that is, I think it's best to go. He's brought this down a bit. To there. I don't think it really matters too much. We're comfortably out the top here to not have to worry about failing. This it failed but pushed up again, and we've had two more pullbacks and it's still continued higher. So I think at the moment we're more likely to get this measured leg. So for me to get into a long here, it's got to come down below there. Now it's starting to go a little bit sideways here. Now, will it hold? It may do. I certainly wouldn't consider getting into a trade here at the moment until we've broken below there. But you never know, it may hold. There's a second entry long on here, but for me, that green bar is just too far from that EMA, and it's a little bit sideways, so I just need to sit tight. It may push up, sometimes it just does. On this side here, this bar here, it is a second entry long, but to me there's a little channel down there, with a break, and I'd expect another leg. Now it may just work if there's enough buyers in there pushing up. It may just work, but that bar there, for safety, I wouldn't take it. It's too far from that EMA, and so is that. So you can quite likely expect there are going to be buyers below there, or buyers stops or liquidity or whatever, and below there. So I think both those areas are vulnerable. Now, if this is going to continue up, I'd expect it to clear some of these stops first, or pick up some of this liquidity. And you can see there's some support there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'd like to see a second leg down, push down below, clean out liquidity, and then pick up something bullish here. And then you may say 1 bounce, 2 bounce, 3 bounce, triple test to go long. But sometimes it just holds and eventually grinds. But it's clearly struggling to get up. You can see that we've got 3 little tops there. So for me, I'd like to see it push down, take out any stops there, and then find something bullish here to go long. So in other words, leg and a leg. Now that's what I'd be looking to take a trade down here. That's if it gets down here. You never know. Reasonable orders at 17 up here, so above the highs. So if we can get our 2 legs down, we may get a setup here. Fingers crossed. Excuse me just for a second. Oh, sorry, I just forgot the right there. Clearly struggling to go higher here. Okay, now we're above it, so let's just see if this drops. It may just continue up, but at the moment it's stacked up, so I certainly won't want to get into a trade along here. I'd like to see a big drop now. Yeah, sometimes it just goes. Okay, new high, so that's played out. There's no way into a trade there really. It just stacks sideways. It's only a first entry there. There is a high low, but it's a doji, and then you've got 3 bars stacked side by side, and then a 4th. So straight away it's a no-go. It doesn't mean it won't work. Sometimes the worst setup in the world will work. But took long off the 25s, did you? See, Thomas Wade has got that. I'm concerned about that. That's what I mean. Thomas Wade widens his channels quite early. He's done it there. I've gone off here. So it's hard to say. Whereas down, my guess would keep that tight. I don't think we got a chart at the moment. No, we haven't. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break, make a cup of tea, and I'll be back. Right, now let's have a look at this. What is going on here? So channel break, 2 pushes to a new high, lower high. I wouldn't have taken that anyway. Too close to that EMA. There's not much room to it. And I don't know what's going on. So if there is something larger there, we'll be close, and we're still away from the top, aren't we? Hmm. Okay, channel break, new low. Now we're just testing this area, possibly. We need music, rock. What kind of music do you like, Karina? Or what kind of bands do you like? Are you kind of old school rock, are you? Def Leppard, Led Zeppelin, AC/DC, all that type of stuff, are you? Beatles. Classic. They never fade, do they, the Beatles? Not seen much. I went to see The Darkness once. Well, they're kind of rocky. Rock heavy metal. Yeah. I think The Darkness is about as heavy. I went to watch a lot of US guys don't know Robbie Williams, do you? Robbie Williams was in Take That, which was kind of a massive band in the 90s. And I went to see him at Nebworth about 20 years ago. And they had, I think The Darkness was there. Who else? Moby as well, like Moby. And Ash, I think. Darkness, Moby, Ash. I think Kelly Osbourne was there with Ozzy. I suppose there is a possibility. It could be that. In which case we've had a break and a new high. It's hard to say. Oddly enough, Thomas Wade's got the same thing, so I don't think that's that bad then with that drop. Maybe something like that. Channel break, new low, and then a push up, possibly. Orders at 1750, so just above here. Could be kind of a two-tiered channel. I don't know. I'm not sure. trade for Mac, maybe. Funny enough, Marco's just marked that. So there's 2 points so far. Well, depending on where you got. See, if I was going for 3 points, I could get in now in a limit order. See if we get a lower high. Yeah, could get in on a limit order there, but I'd be hoping it's going to push down, so maybe 2 attempts to push higher. It's already done and dusted. I wouldn't have taken that personally for me. It's too close to that EMA. You need enough room, really. So, I mean, there's half a point there to the EMA. So Marco goes for 6 ticks, so he'd have been out there. Let me have a look. Yeah. Yeah, he'd have been out there. I can see it there. Yeah, it's a bit hard. It's just one of those things at the moment. We've had a leg down and a push up. We've bounced off here. So you may say a triple test. That to me is one move, really. The trouble is we've all got slightly different understandings of it, you know, depending on what you think's going to happen. It's just hard to say. I mean, it does look like a leg. It could be a bit sideways. It's hard to say, really. So we've got to move up 2 legs. If we can get 2 legs and a bounce here, then we may push up a bit higher. Now that to me would be kind of a penguin style trade. We've got to move up 2 attempts to push higher. If we can get above that EMA, yeah. See, I'm a bit of a coward when it comes to picking tops and bottoms. See that, it depends how you look at that. If you've had that like that and we've had 2 bounces, it might be a bit of a different story. See, Marco's got that as a break already in a push-up. Whereas if you've got that as a channel, you still may expect it to push higher. So it's hard to say, really. Could be a penguin type setup. We've got to break new high, 2 attempts to push higher, and then possibly another move up. Yeah, we do often see these slightly different, although we're kind of all trading the same way. There are trades at map marks that I wouldn't take. I suppose it depends how strict you are. I'm probably a little bit overcautious at the moment, which I think I'd rather be on that side. Yeah, it's hard, really, isn't it? I suppose we've all got different levels of risk. You know, some people like Matt Marks more riskier trades, which are still okay to take. You expect them to win more than they don't, and you still expect to make a profit. I suppose it depends how you look at upon it. I just wasn't sure at the moment. See, really, you've got to have enough room to the EMA, and you don't know whether it is going to push up. And for me, if you go a tick below, there's 3/4 of a point. You know what I mean? So I go for, so it would have worked, but you just don't know, do you? It's hard to say. See if we get a reaction here. There are orders at 750, but that's quite low. Absolutely, yeah. The way I see it, Matt goes for a point. I've only got to kind of, putting runners aside, I've only got to have one trade for every 3 Mac has. Part of the reason why I go for 3 points, because if it's a good enough setup, it'll comfortably go for free. And also because I don't see a lot of setups. I'd kind of want to try and make the most of it and capitalise when I see one. Do you know what I mean? If I take one trade in a day, if Mac takes 3, we're kind of point for point, obviously putting runners aside, we're kind of in the same ballpark. So that's another reason why I, try to go for 3 points. Found that candle cleared out all the congestion area. So I'm going to draw that like that. Could draw that like that. Either way, whether you do it from there or there, we've had a break and a new low. So we want a reaction down here, really, don't we? It could be a penguin style trade. Channel break, new high. 2 clear attempts to push higher, to push lower. Let's see how we get a reaction here. We've still got, we've got large orders down here. Yeah, we got large orders around about the 7 down here, so I want to see price break below there before I consider the long, and then maybe a higher low further up. Okay, so we haven't broken below there. We've made a match in low. Okay, so that's cleared out anything there. So, as I say, there is orders down here around about the 7, which is around about here. So, interesting to see what happens now. So, I'll tell you the truth, I'm new to this system. I do have my own. Thanks to your channel and showing this system in real time, I'm now sort of adapting to this pat system. I thought you traded it, to be fair, mate. And you are right. Right on 3p. What am I missing, mate? Right on 3p. You might have to explain that, bud. You know, I got to say, Pats is a great system. It does take time to kind of get it, but I believe Dan, who goes for 6 ticks, hasn't lost a trade for about 12 months. That's what I'm aware of. So if you can read it right, it's super accurate. But it is what? Oh, 3 points. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If it's a good setup, I think it comfortably makes 3 points. Now, Matt goes for a point. Dan and Marco go for 6 ticks. I just think it kind of suits the way things are. And like I say, Mac is way more advanced trader than me. He will see and take trades that I probably don't fully understand or maybe notice. You know, you do get better and better over time. But what I like about it, for every one trade I take, he's got to take 3. And he'll say he takes, I've heard him say a few times he takes 1 to 2 trades or 2. He seems to average 2 a day. And another thing about going for a point, more often than not, because price is a point away from you, it's only got to come back 4 ticks and take away your runner. Whereas if you go for 3 points, a lot of the time price is, it's moved, it's pulled back a bit, and then it's gone for that second move down. And a lot of the times your runner will stay intact by going for 3 points. But it's not for everyone. You know, I understand that people, you know, not everyone wants to do it, but I think it suits me. It's taken me a while to get used to it. And sometimes, like earlier, I you know, if I think I've misjudged something, I get out. But, you know, good setups, that they comfortably make 3 points. So I like it, and it's very much a 1-to-1 as well. So I like the fact that one good trade sort of makes up for one bad trade. Whereas if you're risking 3.5 points only to make a point, if you win 3 trades and lose your 4th, you're in the red. And that for me is hard to stomach. So yeah, I like 3 points. It suits me. I do need to adhere to it a little bit more. In fact, the last 3 or 4 trades that I got out early went on to make the full 3. So I just need to grow some balls or some slightly larger ones and practice what I preach. But it's like anything. I had that bit of a hiccup where I lost those accounts, and I'm building these up. So my nerves are still a little bit shot, so to speak. But if I had $10,000 in each account, I'd have just let that go, because I know trading one contract there for, I think the risk was about $150, wouldn't have made a slight bit of difference to an account with $10,000 in. But because I'm building it up nice, I still haven't got that nerve a little bit yet. Absolutely you do. Absolutely you do. For me, that's too much pressure going for a point or 6 ticks. But yeah, you're right. You have to have a higher win rate. I mean, really, taking taking runners aside, you've got to have double the win rate me going for 3 points, you know, to kind of make money. So I like it. I like it. But everyone's slightly different. I know there are a few people. I think Brandt goes for a little bit more in some cases, 5 points. It's like anything, though. The more points profit you go for, the less amount of trades you'll win. But I think overall, you know, you'll tend to do okay either way. But yeah, 1 point or 6 ticks for me. That's hard, I think, mentally. And that's kind of where I like 3, because if I lose a trade, then win a trade, I'm more or less back to where I started, as opposed to going for 1 point and then you lose 3 points. The next 3 trades are just about to get you close to break even. It's just too much to mentally handle for me, that is. You guys know me. I'm not mentally strong at the moment. It's one of the bits that lacks in my trading. My patience is good. I always thought my patience was the hardest thing for me, but my patience is probably my strongest point. My trade discipline, for the most of the time, is good. But losing trade still messes with my head a little bit. But it's like anything. We'll have strong points. You know, you'll have strong points and weak points, like anything. Somebody'll, you know, someone might not be as patient as me, but they may be able to handle losses. But my losses are getting better because I'm getting more self-belief that I've got the skills to do it, and I don't have to rely on, you know, a bit of luck or you know, to kind of get me there. So I'm making progress. That I'm sure. So that's the main thing. And I think if you're making progress, this stuff doesn't come overnight. But I'm making solid progress, you know, year on year. I mean, even though I haven't had a payment for the last 2 months, I've still made about 8,000, 6,000 or 7,000 more than I made in the whole of last year. And the year before that, I made less than half I did last year. So, you know, every year it's getting better. I suppose I'm hoping to get to the end of the year with about $75,000, something like that. You know, which is not as much as some, but you know, it's still okay. And then if I've made at least double every year, then next year I should, you know, make that magic 100,000. I just, up until recently, just been spending too much on evaluations and PAs because I kept taking risks. So that's, you know, it's okay to make profits, but if you're spending over half of it on failed evaluations and blown PA accounts, you know, it's not just about, you know, making money out your PAs. It's about spending less money on them and trying to keep in the ones you've got. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on a lot as well. Giving myself maybe, you know, a certain limit per month. You know, maybe $500 per month or something like that. So over the space of a year, $6,000 isn't a huge amount. So I think it's important to give yourself some barriers as well. It's so easy just to go through. I mean, you know, if you look at Nutty, for instance, I think he's, what is he, up $175,000? But I think he spent nearly $50,000 on fees. Although he's making profits, you could certainly make a lot more profit by spending a lot less. So that's part of it as well. You know, as part of being a business is controlling what you spend, you know, not just what you make in your profits. So we had a leg down with a break and a new leg and a bit of a bounce. There was no real rhyme or reason why we bounced there, I don't think. Or maybe there is. Actually, that may be why. So, touch. I think you have to pay attention to that. So let's put that there like that. So we got a few touches there, then we got a touch there, then a touch there, then a touch there. So push up sideways, push up sideways, push up sideways. But each time before we push up, we come down and clear prior liquidity. Same again, clear prior liquidity. Not that bit, but clear there. Same again, clear prior liquidity and push up. Is 5. I'm not too sure, mate. I haven't spoken to him for a while. I must message him. You kind of get on with your own life and forget, don't you? But I'm not sure, to be fair. Although I know he had a baby 4 or 5 months ago, something like that. So that might be taking up a lot of his time. And he's got a good job as well. He's an engineer. So, you know, I think he's got a fair wage, and I think he's got a mortgage, and now he's got this little baby. So I'm not sure. I'll message him actually and find out. But yeah, you know what it's like when you have kids. If you've got kids up there, they kind of take over your life, don't they, for a bit? And your sleep. I remember the first few months my daughter was born, it was like a blur. A blur of lack of sleep. And all of a sudden, before you know it, they're 17. It don't seem 5 minutes ago since my daughter was born. They grew up so damn quick. Yeah, he's a nice guy, Sam was. Absolutely. Is, rather. Yeah, he's a nice guy. I will message him later, just to ask how he is. Is if his wife's at home looking after the baby and he comes home from work, usually you've got to take over a bit, because I know when my daughter was young and my wife was home, she's knackered by the time you get home. So you kind of, you know, you spend time at work and then you want to spend a bit of time with your kids, don't you? So that might be why he's had to put it on hold a touch. I can close that up a bit, actually. So yeah, I think it's visually working in that. I mean, you could take it down a bit lower, I suppose, couldn't you? But visually looks right. So as we've had a strong reaction to that, couple of legs down, a second entry long, maybe off here, wouldn't be a bad option. I think there's a good chance it's going to at least test these area here. As I say, we've still got quite a few orders up at 1750, which is just above here. So we need really a couple of legs down. Whether we'll get them, it's a different matter. The base camp. I have been for a while, mate, to be fair. I've been on camera now for, oh crikey, it's got to have been 4 or 5 months, maybe a bit longer actually. Sorry if it's a disappointment. Yeah, I don't know. I just thought sometimes it's a bit more personal, isn't it? If you got, you know, sometimes it's nice to have a face to the name, isn't it? See, I see you guys as my kind of work colleagues, so you know, sometimes it's nice to see people, isn't it? So, wanted more ladies. I'd have found someone a little bit better looking if that had been the case. It's very few ladies, actually. We've only had a few. I think we've maybe had 3 or 4 since I mean, I've been streaming now for, it's not far on 3 years, I think. Yeah, 3 years in this coming November. It's only 3, I think I remember. Corinne, who's been here for a long time now. There was another couple as well. I can't remember their names. They both traded a husband and wife. They just, now and again, they'll show the face. I don't know whether they're still trading. And there was someone close to me, actually, 50 miles up the road from the West Midlands, but I've not seen her back. So for the life of me, I don't know why so very few. I think if I look on my, you're my manager, you are, you keep me in check. If I look on my YouTube, the stats in YouTube, I think it says 1%. I'd say it's probably less than that, but it says 1%. For the life of me, I don't know why. I think it's kind of the perfect job for women, because I think they're a lot calmer. And I suppose if they're at home with kids and they may take kids to school, they do a little bit of housework, they could probably get an hour or 2 in. So I am surprised at very few. Okay, so we're going to say George, aren't we? Did we agree on George? I didn't have a go at your name. Good afternoon to you. From Greece, yeah. I think George you said, wasn't it? I did remember. I'm pretty good with names. Greece, Athens, fantastic. That's right. I remembered. I think women in general are more risk averse. Yeah, the trouble is with guys, you know what we're like sometimes. That's a strong buy off there, that is. Now, unfortunately, it's only a first entry, but that's quite a strong move up there. Too much for us to think about. Maybe, yeah. The trouble is with guys, we're a bit too gung-ho, aren't we? We kind of want it our own way. We're a bit... so... You know what it's like, and you see it. You see it on the news and that in the UK. On a Saturday night in the middle of a city centre, everyone's out full of drink. The guys are beating the living daylights out of each other, and the women are trying to pull them apart. So I think women tends to be a bit calmer. But I am surprised that more women don't trade. It's. I'm just looking now at the stats. Sure, it's about 1%. It's probably less than that. Audience. It's less than that. Look. Yeah, look. Female. It's not even 1%. Strange, isn't it? It's very small, but I like looking through this. It's surprising who you can see here. Yeah, it's surprising, isn't it? I quite like looking through this sometimes. But yeah, it's look at that. It's almost zero, really. You know, apart from Karina. Yeah, it's strange. If we can get a higher low here, I would probably have a go at that. I'm just going to get rid of this so it doesn't mess with my head. We've come down and we've bounced here. I mean, there's a few women streaming, as we know. There's quite a few women streaming, actually. Tanya Trades, Tory Trades, there's two. Tanya and Tory. I know there's a British trader, a female. That's another one. I'm pretty sure there's one or two others as well. Who's the other girl? Is it Jess? Jessie? Jess? I think there's a few streamers. There's quite a few streamers, actually. Yeah, Kellyanne, absolutely, yeah. She's brutal, that woman. She doesn't take any prisoners, does she? She's quite comical, actually. But yeah, there is quite a few, actually. Quite a few. So it's hard to know what's going on here. Are we just testing this top here? Let's see if we get a bullish bar here. Trouble is, we're back in here now, I think, aren't we? Yeah, I think Kellyanne, she doesn't stream as such, does she? She kind of just makes more videos. Okay, so there is a second entry long here. We are testing this. For me, as we're under that limit, I'd have to wait for a higher low. So we've got two legs down. If you get a leg up and a leg up, it'd have to be a higher low really above that EMA to get me interested. Now, it may work. It does look like two little legs. But you don't know whether we're going to have a leg and a leg. So I'm just not going to jump into this just at the moment. Because we have got orders at 0.5, which is here. So it may trigger that and push down. I'm not saying it's going to. But for me, I would have to wait for the push above that EMA just in case. That's why I kind of like Bookmap. There is orders at 5.05, which is down here, and that is not what you want to see, a trigger and a move down. I'm not saying it is going to push below there, but that's why waiting for that higher low is a little bit safer. So there's orders at 5.05. Which is there. So that's not what you want to see. I think there's a fair chance this is going to get stopped out. It may not. Usually, if it triggers like that, it comes down pretty quick. But I would say how it's looking now, I'll be surprised if it doesn't stop that. Trouble is, we could get a leg and a leg, which may take it down here. You're in Discord. Oh, Kellyanne's. Okay, yeah. You both trade. What they call those bars. Yeah, you both trade that, so I can see why that would help you actually. Yeah. What they called Renko bars. Yeah, of course she trades that as well, doesn't she? Yeah. She's not made as many videos lately, is she? She was kind of making them all the time. Yeah, so it does look like, I mean, there is a channel up there, but you could argue we've had a little break of it. So, little channel with a break. It's just got risk written all over that. Although it's a second entry long, and but for me, it's just, and I think that's the beauty. The more experience you get, when you get caught out by those time after time, you start to just notice where things aren't quite straightforward. See, Thomas Wade has marked that as a second entry long. Now, I wouldn't have thought he'd have taken it. I can't say. Sometimes he just marks them though, doesn't he? Now, that one didn't work. Second entry long, so I wouldn't automatically think about this one either. We could have two legs down to test the lows here, so I'm not interested in taking anything just at the moment. Certainly not long. Key entry point, is it? I think we're just lower than it, aren't we? What I will say is down there would be, wouldn't it? Or did I have this somewhere different? I had it there, didn't I? So let's just kill that colour. So touch, touch, touch. If we get a second leg down here, it might hit that, but we've got a touch that's there. Trouble is, yeah, I'm just not sure about this. See, we've got orders down here on bookmap. Not huge, but enough. Down to 500. So that leg and leg, that measured move, would take us down to around about 500. Just below there. There's orders at 250 and at 5 as well. So there's orders here and down here. So my gut feeling is this could come down for a second leg. But I wouldn't take a trade here at the moment anyway, because in all honesty, it's kind of an odd looking day today. So there may be something larger there at that second leg that may push up. That's if we get it. There may be something there, something a little bit more local, but it's just not super clear, is it? It's good to be aware of those, if anything, probably to keep you out of going short. But it's not an easy day today, to be fair. I mean, if we take everything away, chop, 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 bit of a push up, couple of retests, two legs down. So there's not, the volume's low today, which is surprising considering we're into September. But I'm guessing, is there some news this week? Let's see if there's any news in the coming days here. So, Wednesday, got core PPI Wednesday. We got nothing tomorrow of any significance. Thursday, core CPI. Okay, so we have got news this week, so whether that makes it go a little bit slower, who knows. So Wednesday, Thursday. I'm not going to be trading Thursday. I've got a pre-op, so options relevant next. Oh yeah, see, I'm not an options trader, so yeah, that might be why. How you doing, Ben? So I think this will come down for a second leg. Makes perfect sense. Come down to this area, come down and test this area. It depends. If that area is valid, that's quite a strong bar off there, so that may hold. People start. Rating trade over to the Z contract, so you gradually see volume. Got you. Yeah, trouble is, when you're a retail trader, there are gaps in your knowledge. You know, if you work for a Citibank or something, you tend to know all the ins and outs, don't you? Whereas we kind of have to learn little bits and pieces. It's very easy to know how to trade this, but not know a great deal about the general overhaul, the overall mechanics of how the markets work. You kind of only really need to know what you need to know. Not the easiest of days. So we got a leg down. That looks like a second leg. And from there as well, this second move looks like it's made out into two parts, which is kind of there and there, which kind of makes sense. Testing the lows. Two legs down, big bullish bar off there. You probably get why people would be buying off there. So if we can get down below here, I'd expect it to test this area here. That's if we can get below. We may not. I'm just looking at orders on Bookmap. There's orders around about the 3, which is around about here. There's some down 500 as well. If we get below that, I think it'll find it easy to get down. But you can bet there'll be liquidity below there. What is that one? 275. Yeah, so there are orders at 2.5, which is a tick below there, which it's just picked them up now. So I think now this is the area we're looking at there, or close to it. I wouldn't be surprised if you had a bit of a pullback. Yeah, it's quite a chunk of orders down here. I expect, really, if you wanted to buy price, overall it's kind of bullish at the moment, really. But with two legs down at this area, this would be a good place to buy, really, I'd have said. If you wanted to buy this market. Two measured legs down. Yeah, there is a fair chunk of orders down there at 500, which is kind of would make sense. You're tempted right here, are you? What to go long? As we've broken below there, I would expect a little bit of a pullback. It may get to that EMA, but I think this is very likely because as well as having the bigger legs, they look like two small legs there. So my concern would be is it ticks above there and then comes down, but you genuinely, regardless of what anybody thinks, have to do what you think's right. Because it's the only way you kind of get a feel for it, isn't it? See, looking at this now, for me, that will be the ideal place to buy down here. Bottom of the measured move and here. So I can't see enough buyers in here. And if you look at Bookmap, you can see the buyers down there, can't you? At here, these darker, redder areas. So it would be a natural place to buy there if you were bullish. I think at the moment, overall, we had this big move up, didn't we? We had this quick sell-off, and now we're kind of pulling it all back. So this at the moment, overall, now we're bullish at the moment. So a couple of legs back. If price does get down here, I'd say you're going to see buyers coming in there. For me, it would be kind of the ideal place to jump in. And not only that, if you look at Bookmap, there's nothing lower, really. We're at 500 here. It just dies off, doesn't it? So once we get to this area here, maybe 2.5 points below there, once we get below there, it just dies a death down here, really. So, I don't really pretend I know a huge amount of bookmap, but what little I do know kind of builds it, at least gives you a little bit of a picture. So if we can get a leg down here, we can get a bullish bar or a higher low. There's quite a distance up to that EMA to get a profit. So a leg and a leg, a nice second measured leg there, followed by a bullish bar, maybe even just a bullish bar or possibly. So 2 legs back, ideal place down here, right at the 500 level. That's exactly where it is. 5 1/4, which isn't a tick, isn't Irina there, is it? Fact, that can come back a fraction. Yeah, it's a tick, isn't it? So we may get a small pullback here. But if we can get down to there, I'll be looking for to get into a trade to go long if we can get something. I'm just going to take a quick bathroom break. I'll be a second. Taking a bit of time. I think it'll get down here. Trouble is we've got a channel with the brake 2 pushes to a new low. Okay, so child brake 2 pushes to a new low. A little bullish bar there that's triggered, and this is on its way down. So if it gets below here, which I think it will, I think we'll see this move down to this 500 level. So looking on this left chart, it's a bit congested here, so we may get a break above it. It's short there. It's very tempting. I'm just going to sit tight here a minute. I'm not sure about this. Technically, we've had a break and a new low here. So I think there's a good chance that this thing could continue up 2 legs down. Now, as we know, sometimes we get 2 full measured legs and sometimes we don't. So you don't know whether there's going to be enough buyers in there to push that up, and then the buyers with orders down here decide to ditch them. But it's hard to say. But this does look... The trouble is, that signal bar for me is just not quite good enough, really. So I'm just going to have to sit tight here. Now, we did get a little bit of rejection off there, but there's just not enough space, really. I mean, I go for 3 points. There's not 3 points from the top to the bottom. There's only 2 points. So, you know, if I got in there, tick below there, I would have to hold till it gets down here, which is it's too far, to be honest with you. It may stop these out and then push up. So it's just too much of a... There's too much movement needed, really, to get my profit below that bar. If Mac checks about that, you'd have to get out before the lows. Well, that's way below the lows. Now, it may well work. It probably will. But it's just not quite good enough for me. I prefer it a little bit higher and a little bit more bearish. Now, funnily enough, Taylor's taken it, and it looks nice on his chart. That looks much better. It didn't look like that on my chart there, and it didn't look like on my chart there. If it had looked like that, that may have been a different story. Now, if it's a strong enough bar, it'll push down strong, but it was too much of a distance, really, for me to be comfortable based on what I'm seeing there. But based on that bar, that looks much better, so I expect that to push. The trouble is, by the time that bar finished, it's down here, so you know what I mean? It's just one of those things. So if it didn't feel right now, I just don't take it. If it means I get 2 trades in a week, it means I get 2 trades in a week. I'd rather be 2 winners, which will give me $300 in a week. You know, you get that over a month. There's plenty there. So I just don't do it anymore. If it's not right, I'll leave it. You know, there'd have been a time where I'd have just gone, oh, let's just do it, and just jumped in. But I don't do it anymore. It's just one of those things. So we're at this 500 level. There were some orders there. Now there's orders below there as well. Now I would want to wait for that to hit, really, which is 97.50. Because you don't know whether there's going to be traders buying there, and all of a sudden we come down, hit this level, and then off it goes in that direction. So at the moment, I wouldn't consider taking a long anyway. Not at the moment. I mean, we are getting this in play now, aren't we? So let's just get rid of that. Touch, 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 touch. So that could be a move. The trouble is, with those orders below there, I wouldn't want to get into long there. Once it hits that level, the orders die off then. So I would want it to hit that level. So this is what I'm looking for it to get to. And then orders start to fade then. Or certainly longs start to fade. Okay. So that's picked up those orders. So let's see what happens now. Okay, so there's a leg and a leg. There's a perfect measured move there from there. So from there to there, let's get rid of this. So from there to there, perfect measured move.
Connection lost.
So bounce, 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 2 legs down. So that looks like it's working up. No higher low. I was hoping we get a higher low from here. Unfortunately, nothing. Your inside bar, yeah, it is on the left side. There is one there. I much prefer the higher low. I like the fact that we got 2 little legs down there as well. It doesn't look like we're going to get a higher low either. I think it's probably just going to continue up. We'll see. There is a higher low, but I feel by the time that's finished, we're already going to be at the EMA, and there's just, unfortunately, yeah, we're already there. So that's the, what can you do? It's tempting. It's quite a strong move, that is. It's very tempting to take that, but we're at the EMA, unfortunately, so it's hard to say. Does look like it's starting to push up. Okay, I think I'm done there for today, folks. So I'm going to go and have some dinner now. I might pop back for another half an hour and a bit later. I looked at that. I'm not so sure, to be honest with you. It just looked like it's testing these lows. There may be, but to be honest with you, it looks more up to me. And we've bounced, we've bounced, we've bounced. So we've had a strong reaction off there. So I think it's... You're welcome, George. So I think that's a significant push up there above that EMA. So I think it's going to continue on personally. I wouldn't trade it based on that unless I saw something. I wouldn't just sort of jump in willy-nilly, but there you go. So best of luck if you can on trading. I'll be back tomorrow. Have a safe evening, and we'll catch up same time tomorrow. Bye for now.